In Palestine, a crowd welcomed more than 640 prisoners that were released from Israeli jails as part of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. Japanese authorities ordered on Wednesday the evacuation of some 2,100 people in the city of Ofunato after a forest fire broke out, threatening nearby homes. And the Russian and United States delegations met in Türkiye in the framework of the process of rapprochement of the parties on the conflict with Ukraine. Hello and welcome to From the South. My name is Belén de los Santos. I'm from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We'll begin with the news. We now begin with the information. In Palestine, a crowd welcomed more than 640 prisoners that were released from Israeli jails as part of the ceasefire agreement in Gaza. Around midnight on Wednesday, hundreds of Palestinian relatives gathered in the vicinity of the Cultural Palace in Ramallah to welcome the released prisoners. The liberation was originally scheduled for last Saturday, but Israel delayed it. According to the Prisoners' Information Office, the number of Palestinians released in the seventh and last round of the first phase of the agreement is 641 prisoners. Meanwhile, Israeli media confirmed the reception of the bodies of the 4 Israeli hostages handed over by Hamas.
I was surprised when the liberated prisoners say that it was an indescribable feeling. It was truly a feeling greater than all the words can describe, but it was a feeling filled with victory, filled with the joy of returning to our families, to our people, and to our homeland.
Who comes out of hell, from the hell of Nazism? This is hell. We were in hell and we came out of hell. Today is my real day of birth. Today is the birthday of a prisoner who comes out of this hell.
And Palestinian authorities in Gaza warned of a crisis due to cold, rain, and supply shortages. Health authorities reported that the death of 6 infants took place last week due to low temperatures and the lack of heating methods due to fuel shortage. Mohammad Abu Afash, the director of medical aid in the Gaza Strip, warned about the poor conditions in which the Gazan population is living due to difficulties in accessing the most basic supplies necessary for human life. The officials stressed that about 60,000 mobile homes and 200,000 tents are needed to shelter the thousands of families left homeless as a result of the Israeli aggression. Meanwhile, in Lebanon, the government led by Nawaf Salam received the confidence of the parliament on Wednesday. The debate session also included an extensive debate on the ministerial program, during which 48 legislators intervened. The program highlighted the commitment of the government to the defense of the country, respect for international treaties, and the full implementation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701. At the end of the session, Salam stressed the need to strengthen both the confidence of citizens and legislators. And we go now to Doha, the capital of Qatar, as the 10th General Assembly of the Global Public Diplomacy Network continues. At the event, which takes place from February 25th to 27th, the organization's member countries will draw up a roadmap for the work between 2025 and 2030. The Assembly seeks to promote international cooperation, focusing on the cultural sphere, the exchange of knowledge, and the promotion of the arts. In parallel to the main summit, a meeting of international journalists and media is being held, to which participants from different parts of the world were invited to discuss the challenges of communication nowadays. And the Vatican Press Office has announced early on Thursday that Pope Francis has experienced a new and slight improvement, according to the medical reports from Rome's Gemelli Hospital, where he is being treated. After being admitted to the hospital on February 14th for bronchitis and polymicrobial infection and then bilateral pneumonia. Pope Francis' state of health has improved over the last 24 hours. A computed tomography scan of his chest carried out on Wednesday night showed a normal evolution of his lung condition, although he continues to receive oxygen, although there is no respiratory crisis. They also detailed that the renal insufficiency had improved and that he is no longer in critical condition. In other topics, the United Nations World Food Programme temporarily called off food aid distribution in the Zamzam camp for displaced people in Western Sudan. The WFP Regional Director for Eastern Africa, Laurent Bouquera, warned that this decision could result in the death of thousands of families in the upcoming weeks. The authority further stressed the need to resume delivery of life-saving aid in and around Zamzam safely, quickly and at scale, ensuring the safety of humanitarian organizations. Such call came after Doctors Without Borders also suspended their activities due to the fact that the paramilitary group, the Rapid Support Forces, had set them as targets. Overall, UN experts estimated that the two-year conflict has caused not only over 12 million displaced, but also famine to the rest of the population. Now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. Japanese authorities ordered on Wednesday the evacuation of some 2,100 people in the city of Ofunato in the northeast of the archipelagos after a forest fire broke out, threatening nearby homes. According to the public broadcaster NHK, the fire broke out at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon local time, and it is believed that the fire started in a work shed and from there spread to a wooded area. Authorities have ordered the evacuation of 904 nearby homes, affecting 2,114 people due to the risk of the flames spreading to the homes in the area. Several forest fires have since broken out in the Ofunato itself and in the city of Rikusen Takata. Also in Afghanistan, authorities have reported at least 36 people dead and more than 40 injured by heavy rains in the last 2 days due to flash floods in several regions of the country. The Ministry of the Management of the de facto government informed that the balance only registers the victims of Monday and Tuesday of this week. On the other hand, the Ministry of Internal Affairs announced a total of 20 deaths in the province of Farah, in the southwest of the country. More than 240 homes are reportedly destroyed and about 60 are partially damaged. Rescue teams as well as health teams, local and international organizations are in the affected areas assessing the damage caused. And meanwhile, in Ecuador, the government has been forced to declare an emergency in the coastal provinces, also due to heavy rains and flooding. The National Emergency Operations Committee declared an official emergency in the provinces of Esmeralda, Manabí, Guaya, Santa Elena, Los Rios, and El Oro, among others, due to the rainy season. The National Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology forecasts rains, storms, and winds until February 27th. Authorities reported that the main priority is protecting people and ensuring basic services and support to the affected communities. We move now to other topics. In Argentina, attorney Gregorio Dalbon requested that the telephones of President Javier Milei, his sister Karina Milei, and the spokesman Manuel Adorni be seized. In a letter published in the press, Dalbon requested the removal of the devices in order to guarantee the preservation of evidence relevant to the Libra Cryptogate case. The request was made with the argument that it is necessary to attend the institutional gravity of this case, and for the lawyer, it is also necessary to request a broadening of the indictment to the General Secretary of the Presidency. Also in Argentina, the regular Wednesday demonstration by senior citizens ended with repression by the federal police. On Wednesday's mobilization called by the Plenary of Retired Workers, the Union of Retired Workers in Struggle, leftist parties and also trade unions was peaceful and had agreed with the federal police to make a round at the Plaza de los Dos Congresos and then go down the street. However, the Security Ministry operation advanced with shields, batons and tear gas against the senior citizens. Last week, in the midst of the Libra scandal, the retired workers' demonstrations was also brutally repressed. And Chile's Minister of the Interior, Carolina Toa, informed on Wednesday that the government decided to put an end to the state of emergency in the country after the catastrophe, the partial restoration of the electricity in the regions most affected by the major power outage last Tuesday night. After a meeting of the Chilean Emergency Operating Committee, the official explained that around 220,000 customers were still without electricity at 8:15 a.m. local time on Wednesday. Most of those affected are from the regions of Arica and Parinacota, Tarapacá, and Antofagasta. Regarding the delay in the restoration of electricity service, the Minister of the Interior explained that it was due to a theft of electrical conductors which occurred the previous night in rural areas. And we go now to Guatemala. Social organizations and survivors of violence held on March Tuesday from the Supreme Court of Justice to the Plaza de las Niñas. Participants paid tribute to the memory of their relatives and demanded reparations and justice. The demonstrators denounced the lack of action by the government, which spends $41 million a month to pay ex-military personnel, while there is no program to compensate the victims of the armed conflict. The military dictatorships in Guatemala affected many lives, counting at least 200,000 murdered and 45,000 disappeared due to the massacre. And now we have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you will be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. We continue with more information. On Thursday, the Russian and United States delegations met in Türkiye in the framework of the process of rapprochement of the parties on the conflict with Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that the meeting would address the systemic problems that have accumulated as a result of the illegal activities of the former U.S. administration in creating artificial obstacles to the work of the Russian embassy. For his part, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio also said last Monday that the White House was preparing to begin to outline what Russia would need to do to deal with the conflict in Ukraine. The first talks between the two delegations took place last February 18th in Saudi Arabia and have been described as very positive by the representatives of both countries. And U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday also confirmed the visit on February 28th of his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House, where they are scheduled to rubricate an agreement on rare earths and plans for Ukraine's post-conflict reconstruction. During his first official cabinet meeting of his second term, Trump thanked Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick for reaching this agreement. He also rebuked Joe Biden's previous administration for its 3-year spending spree and said that his administration would focus on recovering that funding. Trump said that he would not give any more money to Ukraine And also the White House has insisted that the U.S. must take control of Ukraine's rare earths, a series of reserves containing some of the key minerals for the new technology industry. And the government of Venezuela has described as harmful and inexplicable U.S. decision to cancel the agreements for oil operations between the two countries. Referring to the alleged infringement of preset conditions, the United States announced its decision to suspend the license given to Chevron Oil Company to extract Venezuelan oil. Venezuelan officials have pointed out that the U.S. arguments lack evidence and show the imperialist spirit of these decisions, which harm not only Venezuela but the U.S. people as well. The concession had been granted on November 26, 2022 by the Biden administration. In this context, the executive vice president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, expressed through her social networks that this February 26th, the government of the United States has made a harmful and inexplicable decision by announcing sanctions against the U.S. company Chevron, pretending to harm the Venezuelan people, and it is actually harming the United States, its population, and its companies, also calling into question the legal security of the United States in its international investment regime. In turn, Rodriguez also stated that the constitutional government of Venezuela and its people, in great national unity, categorically reject this type of actions publicly requested by the country's extremist and failed opposition. Venezuela also emphasizes that this type of failed actions drove the migration of the years 2017 to 2021 with the widely known consequences. To end, Venezuela will continue on its path of integral economic recovery, guaranteeing it with the creative effort of all and in absolute adherence to its sovereignty and national independence. And we go now to Brazil, as the Ministry of Foreign Affairs rejected on Wednesday the statements of the U.S. State Department regarding the attempt to politicize judicial decisions in the country. According to the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs, the State Department's declaration distorts the meaning of the decisions of the Supreme Federal Court. Through a statement, the federal government emphasized that the decisions taken aim at respecting the Brazilian standards. The Brazilian legislation requires that all companies operating in the country must have legal representatives. And U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth traveled to the illegal Guantanamo Bay naval base located in occupied Cuban territory. According to Defense Department press release, this was the official's first visit since he was confirmed to the post in a closed boat. The purpose of the visit was to receive information on the operations that are being carried out at the base, including the so-called Migrant Operations Center and the Guantanamo Bay Detention Center, which in reality is a torture center maintained by the U.S. government since 2002. Since the beginning of the new administration, President Trump announced that thousands of tents would be built to house 30,000 undocumented immigrants detained at the border with Mexico and in the multiple raids carried out in several states. And like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and also on TikTok. For TeleSUR English, my name is Belén de los Santos. Thank you for watching.